sometimes we get tired of trying to think and figure everything out and work through all of the, my limiting beliefs and figure out the solution to the problem. And when we can tap into the body through movement, a lot of clarity comes through. And sometimes the answers just come to the surface, or sometimes emotions come to the surface and we can process them and clear them. And we don't even have to know why.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. I'm your host, my name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show, we have Amy Natalie, the Empowerment and Embodiment Guide. Welcome to the show, Amy. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm doing great.
I am so excited to talk to you because I had a break of a week, over a week now, not doing any podcast, not interacting much, interacting with people in person, but not really online. And I'm just so honored now to just be on the podcast with you and to start doing this again. I really missed my podcast. I love it. I love talking to people and I love just discovering new perspectives. So I'm really curious about yours as well. And I'm sure all people who listen are curious as well. So please share with us your story. What has inspired you to become the empowerment and the embodiment guide? How did it unfold for you? How did you, let's say, feel the calling to do this work?
Yeah. So my journey, I feel like I've always been a lifelong student and in my own discovery or in the realm of learning more about myself. But really, my journey started with a combination of both physical health symptoms as well as emotional health symptoms. So for me at the time, I was 27 years old and I had been struggling with chronic digestive issues for a long time, and also with a lot of depression and anxiety. And the interesting part was that on the outside, everything in my life seemed to be going well. Everything seemed to be on track according to the traditional model of success. So at the time I was actually married. We owned a house together. I had my own nutrition business, and it just felt like something was missing, something was off. I've constantly had this feeling of waking up with anxiety and feeling really disconnected to myself. And that really manifested in a lot of ways. It manifested in chronic digestive issues, gaining weight, emotional eating. And I remember getting to a place where after I had read all these books and listened to these podcasts and gone to therapy and tried to figure it all out, where I eventually got to a place of, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep living in a way where I feel like I'm not being myself. I feel like I am not fulfilled, and it feels like something's wrong, something's off. And it took me a long time to get to a place of trusting that part of myself that knew that something was out of alignment, but I didn't have the words or the tools to be able to really figure that out. But knew that there was something really off, and then being able to build the confidence to listen to that part of myself. And so the marriage that I was in at the time would be considered like safe, secure. We had like a good friendship, yet underneath that, I definitely felt like I was really suppressing certain parts of myself, not just in our marriage, but in our social circle and in my family. And eventually I got to that place where I just couldn't do it anymore. My health symptoms were the worst they had ever been. And I remember the moment where I surrendered, and where for the first time in my life I kind of looked up and was like, I need help. Whoever is out there, whatever is out there, God, universe, spirit, I'd read about this in books, but it wasn't until that moment where I was like, I'm done trying to figure this out, and I'm done trying to fix this, and I need your help. I need signs. Like, please show me the way. And if I heal myself, the depression, the anxiety, I, will share that with others. And so in that moment, I just remember my shoulders like relaxing and just having some relief that there was a greater plan. Like I truly believed that there was a reason why I was going through all of that. And in time, as I started to really commit to a daily meditation practice, and after that surrender moment, I started to feel a much deeper connection with the universe and started to trust my intuition more. And that led to listening to my truth, which was to end my marriage and really to start over. And in that time, I was already working with clients to support them with their nutrition and with body image and with their health. But it wasn't until we started to implement some of these deeper spiritual and healing practices that they really started to see lasting changes. And so, as my mental and emotional health improved, my physical health improved, I lost weight, my digestion got a lot better. A lot of the chronic symptoms I was having started to go away after I had tried like everything across the board. And my clients also started to see just significantly faster results that were lasting longer, because we were really looking at more of the mindset and the emotional healing that was underneath what they were trying to resolve in the first place. So that's a little snapshot of the journey. And more recently, really diving into the embodiment work, especially for women who, have tried a lot of mindset work. They have a lot of awareness around their patterns, but our body contains so much wisdom. And I'll share a little bit more today about how we can really tap into our bodies. But that has been another layer of healing for me, for self-expression, for deeper connection to my emotions, and really being the feminine leader that I came here to be. I feel like the embodiment piece is something that has really transformed my life as well.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this story. And I can really relate to that because maybe 2 years ago, I also was struggling with digestive issues. And I really believe, and I'm curious about your perspective, that, okay, you can heal by nutrition and supplementation and all these things, fasting, all of these things can really help you heal. But if you don't resolve the emotions, it's like the cause is not looked at. It's like the physical body has symptoms and the effects of the cause. So if you look at the effects only the physical stuff, then you don't really look at what is causing it. So you need to look at it holistically. You need to resolve the cause and also like deal with the effects, right? So you need to look at the emotions so that it doesn't continue, it doesn't go further anymore. But then if there are already physical symptoms, then you need to also decrease the symptoms, and you need to also work on the physical level. So I'm curious if you also found that it's about the holistic approach, not only emotions and not only nutrition, it's actually both.
Yeah, I definitely would say that having a holistic approach, including the emotional element along with the nutrition, is super important and really effective. And yeah, we often suppress certain emotions where or suppress certain past experiences, childhood traumas, or they don't even have, they could be big traumas, but they could be little traumas. We call them little t, where it actually gets stored in the body. And so if we're not really doing the emotional healing, the energy of those emotions and those memories actually gets stuck in the body. It causes inflammation. And additionally to that is that when we're not processing our emotions, it creates a lot more stress, anxiety, and that then leads to certain lifestyle choices that may not be in alignment or may not be supportive for our health.
Absolutely. And so, were you already eating healthy when you had digestive issues, or were you just like, yeah, eating whatever, and then you changed everything?
Yeah, I had tried all the different cleanses. I had at that point completely changed my lifestyle. I wasn't drinking alcohol. I had cut out gluten and dairy and sugar, and I was eating mostly, organic foods, and I had made all of the dietary changes that were recommended. However, and that definitely improved my health significantly. I would say there was a big improvement. However, there was a point where I was like, okay, I'm doing all of these things, but there's something still that there's more healing available. And one of the times that I remember starting to really recognize and notice the different, like a distinct shift in my health, was I went on vacation once with my family, with my former husband, and I remember being on vacation and I didn't have any bloating and my stomach was fine. And like I was eating kind of more foods than I normally would, or different foods than I normally would, that would normally bother my digestion, and nothing was bothering me. And so I started to make this connection between daily stressors and the inflammation that was in my body. And even though I was eating really healthy at home, my body was still inflamed. And the stress, the emotional stress that I was experiencing at home, was contributing to my body not being able to digest certain foods. And so that's really where I started to study eating psychology, which was kind of my transition from traditional nutrition to then learning more about who we are as eaters, and how we relate to food differently, and how does our emotional landscape, or how do our emotions impact the food choices that we make, and how do our emotions impact our health. So there's a huge link with it, and I think it's both. I think the nutrition and the mindset and energetic emotional support is really important.
Hmm. And so, are there any types of eating psychology? Are there any, let's say, kinds of people that you can say that they are, like types of, like this or like this kind of eater or this kind of eater?
Yeah, I mean, one of the main principles that we use in eating psychology, and I don't do a lot of eating psychology anymore. I still work on health and wellness with my clients, so I still infuse some of it. But one of the biggest things is intuitive eating, is actually learning how to listen to your body and how to trust your body again, because your body is so intelligent, but because of all the diets and all the rules and all the things that we've been taught, on even in the health world, oftentimes we lose touch with, what does my body want, what does my body need. And there's a process to really coming back to that place of eating more intuitively, and it really takes being more in touch with your body, slowing down, focusing on mindful eating as well, and being more present with what emotions are coming up. If you are reaching for certain foods, or if you do have pain in your body, like really connecting with, what am I feeling right now, being more in touch with your emotions throughout the day. That also helps to really guide you, and to recognize, what might be causing some of the imbalances in your health.
Hmm. Yeah, and this is exactly how I worked with my digestive issues, because I would be waking up with the pain in my stomach, and I would be like, okay, how am I feeling about this pain today? Okay, I feel powerless, and then I would go into the powerlessness and the childhood trauma. The first time I felt powerless, and then the pain would be usually gone after the process. But then the next day I would maybe wake up with the pain in my intestines. Like, okay, what is the feeling that I'm feeling right now? Well, frustration, because I already work on it so much, and I do all these things, and it's still there. And then I would go into frustration, and kind of like peeling off layer after layer after layer of emotions that I felt about my pain. This, I feel like, is what helped me the most, to just actually really feel like, okay, now I can eat anything I want, without exaggeration, of course. But like, I really, I'm still eating vegan and quite healthy, and I try to avoid gluten and sugar as much as I can, and so on. But still, I'm able to function normally without any pain. And I feel like the biggest brick in the wall was just to dive into all these feelings, to actually feel like, okay, this is the pain, but the pain is undermined by an emotion. So what is the emotion? How do I feel about the pain? And then you can really go and just peel it all off. So that's amazing that you've gone through a similar journey as me, because I feel like gut health is one of the most important things we can take care of. And it's actually great how the issues we have can lead us to more healing, and to actually being able to help others, and to understand exactly how our body, our physical body, and our emotional body, and our mental body are all interconnected, all intertwined, how they play with each other, and how we can really heal from all these different perspectives. And so then that brings me to the other topic of this, of practice, and I would love to ask you, what are your favorite practices to get into the body? Because obviously we're not going to know what our body feels, and how we feel, what is the emotion inside, if we don't get in touch with our body first. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with it, especially men, I feel, because they have never learned that, okay, being in my body, being sensual with myself, or whatever, is a good thing, or it's a thing that you should do. So what would you say are your favorite practices or tips for people who maybe struggle to still get in touch with their bodies?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, we live in a culture that is very what we would call like masculine oriented, where we really value things like productivity and, success and constantly creating things, right? Producing. And our culture also really values a lot of logical reasoning. So most people actually live their daily lives from the neck up, is how we would describe it. They feel completely disconnected to what's going on in their body. They don't really feel connected to their emotions, and they don't feel connected to their intuitive guidance, their intuition, because it lives in your body. And so really first starting to recognize that your body has so much information that is here to support you on your healing journey. And your body, again, contains so much wisdom and information to help you to feel good, to help you to thrive. And one of the ways that the most simple way to start to drop into the body, and you'll see this a lot through yoga. I think yoga is often a gateway or an entry point for many people on their healing journey, where we connect the breath to your awareness of to your breath. So essentially what we're doing is we're focusing and we're being intentional with elongating the inhale and elongating the exhale, slowing down the breath. When we do that, we create a much more calm nervous system. So we're actually kind of like massaging the nervous system with the breath to help us to drop into the body, right? So one of the ways that we can connect to the body is through breath. Um, and that can be through breath work. So there's a lot of different breath work or pranayama practices that we can do to connect with our body. And a lot of it is paying attention to the breath. And when we pay attention to the breath and how it feels on the inhale and feels on the exhale, then we're not so much thinking about what's happening in the mind. So it starts to slow things down a little bit, and you can start to feel the sensations of a nice deep inhale and a nice deep exhale. And then we're already starting to tap into the body. So that's a really beautiful place to start if you're ever feeling like stressed or anxious or overwhelmed. One of the first tools, or one of the most helpful tools that I learned when I started having panic attacks when I was, in college was, oh, my breath is really short when I feel stressed or anxious. So if I tap into longer breaths and slow it down, that helps me to calm and relax everything. So the breath is the first one. The next one is movement. And movement, the type of movement that I teach to my clients, I primarily work with women, but men can also do this as well. And this is intuitive movement. So it's not choreographed dancing. It's not that you have to have the best dance moves. It's really actually an opportunity to close your eyes and go inwards. And we use music because we all have such an emotional connection to music. Music brings up different emotions. It helps us to feel a certain way. So we can actually use music and movement to start to move energy in the body and to start to feel the sensations. Even it could be as simple as doing a little shoulder roll and just starting to feel the sensations of tightness, feeling the sensations of any stretching in the body, right? And then one of the practices that I love the most for my clients is it's called mirror dancing. So basically it's standing in front of the mirror, and you can be fully clothed, you can wear a bathing suit, you can wear lingerie, you can be naked, and essentially what it is turning on music and watching your body and feeling your body move to the music, and really starting to notice, oh, are there any judgments that are coming up for me? Is there any pain in my body? How is my body feeling? Am I feeling restricted in any of my movements? And I think especially for women, sometimes we get tired of trying to think and figure everything out and work through all of the my limiting beliefs and figure out the solution to the problem. And when we can tap into the body through movement, a lot of clarity comes through. And sometimes the answers just come to the surface, or sometimes emotions come to the surface and we can process them and clear them. And we don't even have to know why. We don't even have to have a story behind them. So the breath and movement are my two favorite ways to get into the body.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This is really, really good. I feel like for me, also the touch is a good way to just really like touch different parts of your body and like really focus your energy there as you're touching, because then you're like, okay, my hands, there are, of course, there's a lot of energy in my palms, right? So if I just place my hands somewhere, I can really get in touch. It's like, okay, my stomach hurts and I'm gonna place my hands there and like really focus my energy there, my attention, and then feel into what's going on there, or maybe even like visualizing my organ and how it feels and how it would speak to me if it could talk, how it could respond to me, what would it say. That's also another thing. It's a maybe a different practice, but it's nice to get in touch with your organs because they are parts of you, they are energy, they also have consciousness. So if you can really ask like, okay, stomach, how are you feeling today? Like, what's going on? Do you recommend me maybe eating something else, or just having a little conversation? I think that could really help, just to be, or sometimes even like channeling your organs, channeling the parts of the body. If something is painful, like just really feel into the energy of this specific organ and then write or speak as this organ. Like, what would you say? How would you feel? Is there anything that you have to express to this person that is you, right, as this organ, as this part of you? So yeah, I think that this is also really one of my most favorite practices, because sometimes it's kind of like uncovering what's there, what's in your instinct, like in your subconscious mind, but you don't have access there unless you actually really tune in and really channel the parts of your body that need to be heard in a way, because we just don't listen, and we need to listen to know. Our body knows everything, like everything is stored in our body, all our memories, even if we want to do inner child work, right, and trauma healing, like it's all in the body. And in the process that I'm using called completion process, it's like feel into the feeling now and really go as deeply as you can into this, and ask your body, when was the first time I felt this way? And then your body responds, your instinct, your subconscious mind comes to the surface, and you're like, whoa, I didn't even know that this memory was there. I didn't even remember it because it was all subconscious and not conscious, right? So our body holds so much wisdom, so much wisdom. And I'm really really happy that we are talking about this, because I feel like it's so important to get back. I feel like we were in tune with our bodies in the past, but now we just have so many distractions, so many foods that are poisoned, so many water that is not clear, like so many things that are actually getting us I don't know, distracted, and we don't really listen, we don't give space. And I love what you share about the movement and the breath, because I feel like the breath is like one of the most important things ever that we can do. And it's so simple, but it's actually such a powerful practice if we can incorporate it into our lives, to really be with ourselves, to be present. It's like the easiest way to get present, to just be conscious of your breathing. And it can really calm us down even a few breaths. So I'm really, really, I love it. I love everything you shared. And that also brings us to the next theme of feminine energy, because I know that you run workshops, the three keys to unlock your feminine energy, and I know that being in the body is probably one of the ways of how to do this, right? Because the feminine energy is sensual, is moving, is fluid, is receptive, and all these things. So I'm really curious to know, like, what are the keys to unlock your feminine energy? If you'd like to share all three or just some of them, I would be really curious to know.
Mhm. Yeah, so for listeners who might be new to the concept of what is feminine energy, I'll start there because yeah, I think learning how to unlock your feminine energy, it really does um, impact every area of your life. It has impacted every area of my life, but essentially the feminine is it's not about being a woman or a man, right? Everyone has masculine and feminine energy. So there are these two polarizing or two different energies that actually complement and complete each other. They're both really important. The problem is that many of us are, I would say the majority of us, if we're not conscious about it, are unconsciously operating in our masculine energy. And the masculine energy is that go energy. It's the doing energy. It's structure. It's getting stuff done. It's linear thinking. And we need all of that. We need that to survive. It's really important. However, when we're too far in our masculine energy, it can lead to things like chronic health issues, to burnout, to anxiety, fatigue. There's so many different ways that being imbalanced between these two energies can really show up in your life. So the feminine energy is more of that intuitive energy. It's about being in touch with your emotions. It is more of the creative energy. It is the life force energy. So that feeling of aliveness and passion and pleasure. The feminine energy is also not so contained in a box. It can be really wild in the sense that they can have a full range of emotions, right? Not just feeling happy or put together all of the time, but also experiencing anger and frustration and sadness. And kind of like the nature is such a good example of the feminine. It has all these different cycles and seasons in it, right? So the feminine really helps us to connect with our heart. It helps us to connect with our soul, helps us to connect with our intuition. And it really is a extremely healing energy when we tap into it for both physical and emotional health. And like you mentioned, one of the ways to connect with your feminine energy is to find ways to get out of your head and into your body. So we talked about intuitive movement, we talked about breath, you also talked about touch. And I agree that, even things like light, soft touch, touching your body to feel the sensations, or self massage to just connect with your body and bring gratitude to your body and take care of your body in those ways, can be really healing as well. The other piece of connecting or unlocking your feminine energy is also around connecting with your emotions. Instead of suppressing your emotions and just logically reasoning your way through life, it's actually getting in touch with, oh, I'm feeling a little bit anxious right now, or I'm feeling really sad, or I have a lot of grief coming up. And instead of shoving those emotions down, it's actually allowing those emotions to be seen, to be witnessed, to be processed. And when we actually allow the emotions to move, and then what it allows is for deeper connection to yourself, deeper vulnerability with others, deeper intimacy in your life. And it also, when we allow ourselves to feel those deeper emotions, we also give ourselves access to more joy, to more aliveness, to more pleasure, to more play. But when we're kind of numbing out our emotions and again, living from the head up, the neck up, we're missing a whole part of human connection and of intimacy with ourselves and others. So connecting to your emotions is a big one. And another one that I'll share is honoring your cycles and your seasons. So in the Western culture, we just have this thing where we're climbing the success ladder and we want to get to the next goal and the next goal and the next goal. And we have to keep going and going and going. And it is actually modeled to us that it's not okay to take rest. It's not okay to take care of yourself. If you're not working, if you're not producing, then there's a story that we can have around not being lovable or not being valuable or enough. And it's just this constant hustle and constant chase to the levels of success. So part of honoring the feminine is really connecting to your natural cycles. As women, we have roughly a 28-day monthly cycle. And there's different seasons that we experience during that cycle. We have an inner winter, we have an inner fall, inner summer, inner spring, and really paying attention to what parts of your cycle, what parts of the month that you're feeling more energized, what parts of the month you need a little bit more introverted time, more quiet time, right? And this cyclical nature also applies to exercise. Instead of always doing hardcore intense exercise, it's learning how to listen to your body to make sure that you can take care of yourself and not get injuries or not get sick all the time. So when we start to honor the cyclical nature, we end up having more, even though it feels scary to slow down or to rest, what it creates is more sustainability. It allows you to show up more consistently versus kind of like this hustle, like kind of like this sprint to get things done, and then you get burnt out, and then you have to recover, and then you have to wind yourself back up again. But it creates more sustained energy and more vitality in your health as well. So these are a few ways that we can start to connect with the feminine energy. And obviously there's a lot more to it, but I would say that those are some of the foundations.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing all that. I totally can relate to everything that you shared. And to me, also, I feel like it's important to share that feminine energy is a lot of things. So everyone should discover, or should, there is no shoulds, but maybe it's good to attune to yourself. Um, and in terms of like, what does feminine energy mean to me? Because femininity is about receptiveness, it's about creativity, it's about expression. So I feel like for each person, the femininity will mean something else. So for one, let's say, woman, it could mean wearing high heels. For one man, it could mean let's do some art or let's play some music. Or for someone else, it could mean, okay, I'm just gonna put some makeup on and dress up nicely or whatever. It's very, very different for each person how they would like to embody what resonates with them. Because I feel like there is so many ideas about femininity and what it is that is just okay. So in our society, this is what femininity is. It's like, no, femininity is so many different things that you can actually pick something that you resonate with and you can embody it and do more of this in your life. So it's good to ask yourself, like, okay, what does femininity mean to me? And then embody it in a way that is aligned with you. Because I know some women, or I don't even wear high heels. Like, I like wearing high heels from time to time, but I don't even really do that because it's just not aligned. I'd rather have a healthy spine than, walk in high heels all the time. But for some women, this could be the highest expression of their femininity because they feel so amazing when they do it. So then they just feel so like a flower blossoming when they can express themselves in this way and express their femininity in this particular way, right? And so it's about really knowing what it means to you and then making space in your life for this creativity, for the receptiveness, for receiving just generally. Because I feel like feminine energy is also linked a lot to abundance. Because if we don't have feminine energy of receptiveness, if we don't take things in, right, that's a feminine energy we take in our womb. We are receptive to a lingam entering our yoni. So if we can't receive things, then we cannot receive anything in our life. We cannot receive love, we cannot receive abundance, we cannot receive things because we have this block. Maybe we feel like we don't deserve to receive or whatever it is. So I feel like there's a lot to the feminine energy that we can discover. But I think everyone I want to avoid the word should, because should is, it doesn't exist. It's just a stupid word. I think it should be crossed out of the dictionary. But it would be great for everyone to discover what it means to them, and then to really just make space in their life and prioritize it as well. If there is imbalance between masculine and feminine energy, to really embody the feminine and to prioritize embodying the feminine as well, so that you can then beautifully dance between both of the energies. Because otherwise, if you only will, okay, do, give, and all these things, but you're not going to have this other side, you're going to feel resistance, because it's a part of us. And if we're going to keep suppressing it, and then it's just not going to work really well for us. But if we just open ourselves up, and if we are receptive and so on, then it could really work well. So do you agree that the feminine energy is linked to receiving, like even when it comes to love or abundance in our life?
Yeah, it's a huge piece of the feminine that a lot of people are missing. And one of the areas that I know that a lot of women struggle with is the idea of letting go of control and feeling like they have to make all of the plans and do everything and have to plan everything and be in control, because they're afraid that if they don't, then nothing's going to happen or it's not going to work out. And on the other flip side of that is really recognizing that control is really just an illusion. And that control comes from a place of fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of things not working out how you want them to. And so it's really hard to receive the miracles, and it's hard to receive the abundance and hard to receive the insight when you're constantly trying to grasp and control and manipulate things, and then you're not open to that receptivity, you're not in that open space. So while it is important to still plan and take inspired action and do the things that you know how to do to move things forward, whether that's in your business or in a relationship, but letting go of the need to control and holding on and grasping on is a really beautiful way to open to receive. And then, I think a lot of people feel like, oh, this is just so hard. I have so much resistance. It feels so challenging. And that comes from that place of not being open to receive. Because when you're open to receive, things come to you that you never would have planned for, that maybe you didn't expect to come to you, right? That we often miss when we're in that mode of calculating everything out and trying to control the outcome.
Yeah, I can relate to it a lot. And even I had this funny situation yesterday where I was like, "Oh, my money is I don't have cash anymore. I only have a card. I probably will have to go to the ATM to get some cash for my lunch." And then literally on the way to lunch, I just forgot about it completely. And on the way to lunch on a on a street, random street, like no houses, no restaurants, just like plain street next to the sea, I just found 20 euros. I'm like, "Oh, the universe provided me cash. I didn't even have to go to the ATM, but I was not attached to it. I was not even asking for it. I just had this thought the same day. I was like, oh, I love money. I'm so grateful that money comes to me so easily into my life. And I just found cash and I was like, oh, the universe gave me the cash for lunch that I needed, that I even forgot that I asked for. But because I was just so open and receptive and appreciative, and I was just, yeah, I'm happy to receive from everywhere, from the universe. And it took me a while also to be in this energy, really. And it was a beautiful, for me it was a beautiful lesson with my ex-partner and dear best friend, because he was providing a lot for us, like in terms of accommodation and food and so on. And I was at first like, oh, just doesn't feel right. It was so tense. I cannot do it. And then over time I was like, yeah, okay, he's willing to give, I'm willing to receive. And I opened up to so much more in my life when I just learned how to receive, of course, with gratitude and with alignment and everything, with integrity. But it just feels so beautiful. And then all these little things happen that then made me feel so open and even more receptive to the universe. So I feel like it's also coming with practice. If you cannot let go of control, it's like, okay, try with little things. And then through practice, through little things that are not as meaningful to you, then you will see, oh, that worked. So now I'm going to maybe let go in a bigger way. Because I feel like for me, it's also way easier to let go of, whether I'm gonna have cash for lunch or not, than whether I'm gonna, I don't know, launch a new coaching program or whatever in my business, right? It's like easier to, okay, I'm letting this go, this little thing, and letting this go, and then you build your letting go muscle in a way. I feel you just practice letting go on little things that are not as meaningful to you, so then you can move to more emotionally charged, more meaningful things. And meaning is anyway the thing we create inside of us. It doesn't have, like, nothing has a meaning inherently. We give meaning to something. But I know that for me, I'm also still working through the letting go of control in some areas of my life, and I'm still also learning. But I feel like the more I practice it, and especially with little things like that, the more I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, this is how I can manifest it. I don't have to be masculine and just do and work 8 hours a day and just be in action all the time. I can just be like, oh, great, universe, thank you. It's just coming, and I can just be feminine here and just be in my joy, in my love, in my gratitude to life, and it's all going to work out. So yeah, I just want to share this little story because I think that could help some people understand how it might work, this feminine receptivity. Do you have maybe a story to share like this as well, how the openness and being in your feminine has helped you, bring some things into your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think specifically in romantic relationships, there were times in the past where I always felt like I had to initiate, or where I wanted to make the plans, or like reach out to whoever I was interested in, whether it was I was in a relationship or dating, and really take the lead. And you know, that didn't feel great. It wasn't working out great for me. Like, what would happen is I would have these like really short like connections that didn't last very long, or they were, I just didn't love the way that these men were then showing up when it came to going on dates or planning things. And so I really had to learn, how can I be more in my feminine, where I trust that if this person wants to go out to dinner, or if this person wants to continue connecting, that they will reach out, and that I can trust that if it is an aligned match, an aligned fit, and if it's meant to be, then that it will be. And really letting go of this trying to having to control or having to lead everything, um, to make it happen or to make sure that I can see them, that week or whatever it was that my mind was attaching onto. So the more relaxed that I've become in the realm of relationships, the more that I've actually attracted men who show up and who take the lead and who initiate and who, want to show up in that way. And that just feels so much better to me. And that doesn't mean that you can't be yourself, because I'm not someone who just like never plans things. And I'm not someone who just, sits back and hopes that everything works out. Like I'm still myself, but I notice the pattern when I'm trying to control or when I'm trying to take the lead. And then I can, instead of doing that, paying attention to it, noticing where that's coming from, and then coming back to that softness, that surrender, doing my own thing, being my vibrant self. And from that place, that's where the magnetism and attraction comes. And it works. Like it works so much better.
Oh, amazing. I love what you shared. I really can relate to that. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that too. Thank you so much for sharing this. It's really, really valuable. And so, one last quick question. If people really vibe with you and they would like to know more and see your content, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah. So, since this is a podcast, I think another great place to come find me is through my podcast called The Feminine Frequency. You can find it on Spotify, iTunes, Apple, anywhere online. And we have over 200 episodes for you to listen to. So, it's all about feminine energy, manifestation, emotional healing, spiritual growth. So, that's a really beautiful place that you can go. And then you can also find me on Instagram at Amy Natalie Co. or my website, amynatalieco.com.
Perfect. Thank you so, so much for your beautiful feminine energy and everything that you brought, the whole medicine that you brought today for us. I'm really, really grateful and sending you just much love and gratitude for this beautiful conversation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me here.
Thank you so freaking much for being with us today. Ah, this conversation was great. And if you'd like to find the SoulFam podcast on Instagram, it's We Are SoulFam. And if you'd like to find me, I am The Connection Catalyst. This is my English business Instagram. And I also am on Karolina.kuraj, which is Kuraj, and Karolina with K as well. This is my Polish Instagram, but also have some nice highlights from my travels all over the world. So if you want, check it out. And thank you so much again for tuning in and stay tuned to the next episode.